So once we've gone past that first section in the first room with women talking of Michelangelo, we return to the streets where Prufrock is. Now, this stanza probably sets apart from many of the others. Its imagery is different, but still participates in creating the mood and atmosphere of this particular poem. This yellow fog, we'll make it yellow as well, just like the thing above it, this yellow fog that has an extended metaphor throughout the entire stanza in it being a cat or having a cat-like presence. The entire sequence has that image. And it's elusive, as the cat is. It doesn't come out into the middle of the street. It doesn't walk with Prufrock. The cat hides in the corners, rubs itself up against walls, lets the soot fall on its back, and then curls about the house and falls asleep, contented, satisfied, comfortable, participant, part of the space. Now the fog is also in yellow, and you could make many arguments about pollution and modern industrial world and things like that. The soot is there as well. We have the chimneys and the soot. So again, the space is not exactly a pleasant one. It's not a fog that creates a sense of anything beautiful. It's creature-like, sort of menacing, almost something that sort of reminds us a little bit of perhaps it's ether or brimstone, which is again fire and brimstone hell. But I'll go back to a pen. This entire sequence is never really properly dealt with in terms of what we think about Prufrock, because it seems to be outside of the rest of the sequence. And even this last line here seems positive, and this almost is a complete... Ooh, what's happened there? Sorry about that. I don't know why the paint changed them in there. Almost is its own complete stanza. It exists in its own space. But don't ignore it. It's the one moment of Prufrock actually feeling positive. It's the one moment where he feels as if he is on his way now. He feels as if he's making his journey. It's also... It's almost a youthful exuberance. This is the early part of his let us go moment. And he's out now in the space, and he's managed to navigate these tedious, argumentative, insidious streets, these one-night cheap hotels, and now he's walking toward or through this fog. At least he's having a look on it, and he's creating this perfect image of it being like a cat. So in many ways, I suppose, it's setting us up for the fall, because he turns from it. And indeed, I'm just going to erase some of the lines there. And indeed, there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. But this is not the time for that. I cannot linger here. I must move ever forward, even though lingering, and then eventually, as we see, turning back, is what Prufrock will do. Now, at least, we shan't linger. So this here puts Prufrock back on his journey, and he turns away from the yellow fog. He moves away from this satisfying moment here, and because we find out later, of course, sleep is something that is elusive for Prufrock. The word malingers will put pay to the idea of curled about the house and falling asleep. This is something not afforded to him. Indeed, there will be time. That time will come when we've answered the overwhelming question, and I can be as satisfied as the cat-like yellow fog. There will be time, there will be time. Bit of repetition there. It's an internal monologue, remember, an internal dramatic monologue. The repetition is giving us an insight into his voice and persona, the way in which he sees himself and considers himself, and he's thinking, and he's thinking, and he's thinking. So you have that repetition. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. Now, some people might say, oh, no, you're talking about makeup. Well, is he? To me, this is a suggestion that, particularly the you here, which is a second person thing, he's speaking straight at us, straight outside of the poem, straight outside of that internal, saying you. So we get the dramatic, we get that crossover. But when we go out, as Prufrock has done, even to search for an overwhelming question, we put on, or at least prepare, a face. So what is our public and what is our private? That's an elusive question, therefore truth, therefore identity are things that cannot, nor should they, be pinned down, because there'll be time to murder and create, okay? Harsh words. This is some difficult imagery here. Alright, and so you're going, okay, so if I murder and create, are we being literal now? Of course we're not being literal. If we have time to prepare a face to meet the faces that we meet, there will be time, of course, to kill off different versions of ourselves and to create different versions of ourselves. This is the act of being human. Time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. There is time to build toward this question. There is time to understand ourselves through our work, through our lives. Now remember, in modernity, in modernism, the idea of work becomes singular and central to the world for these people. Think of Kafka and the Metamorphosis. Think of the way in which Gregor fears his future because his inability to work, as opposed to I'm now a giant bug. Here, okay, same thing, for all the works and days of hands, for all of humanity, much like Lucky later in our postmodern Waiting for Godot, what we are, they're given all the works, given it all, that lift and drop this question to us of purpose and value and who we are. It comes down to indecisiveness, it comes down to changing one's mind, and it comes down to changing one's face and murdering oneself and creating another self. So therefore it remains elusive. We're back into that tedium, we're back into that space where we don't actually understand our value and our purpose. Time for you and time for me, time for you, whoever the you and I is, possibly the person reading, time. Internal, external, we're back to that you and I. Time for me, and 100 indecisions and 100 visions before the taking, here we are, of a toast and tea. The mundane and the everyday put next to the great question, or questions. And Prufrock always returns to this mundane, and the minute he returns to the mundane, here they are again, talking to Michelangelo. There we go. So it repeats itself again. All of his indecisions, he's back in that hellish space of indecisiveness of the self. There is heaven again, and I did not make it.